panel discussion, as it says, like developing open source community in Hyderabad. But before we get started, we have some amazing, I'll say, panelists here. But I would like to know how many of you are active in open source communities. Like, just raise your hands so that we have an idea that where, how deep or how beginner level we have to discuss here. So, how many of you go actively to the meetups? Any meetup? It could be anything. Okay, we have some quite interesting numbers here. And any open source contributors? It could be anything, any project, not only cloud native. Okay, there are quite a few hands I see in the middle. Okay, it gives us some context that how to discuss this, but let's get started. So what I would do is that I'll be your host today for the panel discussion, and I'll be asking this panelists the questions and trying to accommodate all your questions on behalf of you. I'll be the person asking them, but at the end we can also do a QA from all of you. So without any further ado, I'll let our speakers introduce themselves. So here I'll give first to Amogha to introduce herself.
Very good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are still awake after some good biryani, I guess. Okay, and so thank you, Vineeth, for the introduction. I'm Amogha, for those of you all who don't know. I am currently working as an engineer at a Japanese-based MNC, it's NTT Data, in the Cloud Services Division. And as a person, I've been always very passionate about open source and tech communities in general. So that also comes down to what I do outside work is I work as a community builder at this community, Women in Cloud Native. So as we see, you can see the diversity in the room, right? So it's just very few women in the room, in any tech meetup. So that also comes from a space. The reason I joined this community is because whenever I've been to any conference, it was just, I find very few women to talk to, it's that sense of belonging, of, or feeling safe. It's about feeling celebrated and appreciated. So I am a community builder at that community, and outside work I pretty much enjoy traveling. I like going on hikes, and yes, other than that, as much as I love exploring tech stacks, I also love contributing back to the community. So that's about me.
So yeah, with that I'll let Zubair introduce himself.
Hello everyone, my name is Zubair and I work as a software engineer at Mattermost. For those of you who don't know what Mattermost is, it's an open source Slack alternative for enterprises and communities. So I've been working with Mattermost for the last 3 years, but before that I was also as a contributor to their open source projects, and that is how I finally got in as a core employee in Mattermost. And I work there in platform team. So yeah, I'm honored to be here with this lovely panel. Thank you so much for having me. Over to you.
I'm audible? Yeah, good. So my name is Kalyan. I'm a former data science analytics manager. At the moment, I'm currently a freelance AI scientist, working on a bunch of interesting stuff. Apart from that, I also have another hat on academia. I also teach at Great Learning for the folks who want to get into the world of data and AI. Apart from that, I'm pretty much involved with open source communities close to 6 years now. So I think the number of communities which I'm involved is pretty much huge. The list is quite huge, but I can quickly talk about some of them. Is the one community which I'm leading in Hyderabad. It's called Hyderabad Python User Group. I'm sure a couple of folks who are already aware of it. Other than that, so there's also another community called PyCon India, which is also happening in September. It's a very national level conference. Feel free to get in touch with me if you want to know more details about PyCon India. Yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Okay. With that, I would just like to give a heads up that we will be covering 3 topics today, and the 3 topics are, the first one is networking opportunities, the third one is mentorship and guidance, and the fourth one is job opportunities. How do you crack all of this by being active part of the open source community? So with that, I would just like to give a personal, just a context, because we all talk about networking opportunities, but I would like to just give a heads up that like I've been active as a co-organizer for CNCF Hyderabad, but the Atul that you see as an organizer, Rohit, and the next speaker here, Suraj, all of these people I've met in the open source communities. Like I just went there, I networked with them, and I really made amazing friends and amazing partners who would help with your career as a whole. So this is the significance of networking opportunities, and we have Amogha to help us understand and navigate ourselves into this networking opportunities. So I'll let Amogha give us some tidbits and introduce us to how to do networking opportunities.
Sure, but I just don't want it to be like like a lecture of why you have to network, what you get out of networking. I'm sure everybody here knows why you have to network, or that's what you all are here for, right? So networking and meeting new people. So I feel when I explain it from my story or from my self-experiences, I feel it would make a much greater impact to people. So my idea of networking or my definition of networking has changed over time since when I've started going to meetups and conferences. So I would like to take you all to the beginning where it all started. So like anyone here, I was looking for opportunities, I was looking for jobs. So that's how I started going to meetups and conferences. And what I used to do, I used to just be on the receiving end of networking. I used to ask people, are you hiring, or just for referrals and all of the basic stuff. So it got to a point, I mean, I did get some opportunities and all of them, but after a point of time, I realized that I didn't feel like networking anymore. I didn't feel like going out and meeting new people, because why? I have got opportunities, I've got enough people in my network who can help me get there, but it all went okay. But one day I just came across this very beautiful thing from one of the TED Talks, so which completely kind of changed the definition of networking for me. And it comes down to the question that I asked myself. So what is it that is it something, should I give it back, or is it something I'm expecting people to help all the time? Right? So it's more about, are you giving it back, or are you taking a lot from the communities and everything in general? So, I mean, I did experiment, I started giving out to communities, I started contributing to quite a lot, and then I realized I would like to put it into a small quote of, if you really, this is what I realized, this is what I ended up with. If you really want to get more than you give, you will have to give more than what you get. Okay, so that completely has changed me. I've got a lot of opportunities from the moment I started giving back to people, and it's very magical. I would encourage anybody to just start giving out to the communities and be a part of them, and yes, you see the magic that's happening. And there are a lot of people in tech especially who will actually take that extra step all out, go all out to help you in whatever, just the basic things also. And it kind of gives you that hope as well, that you will eventually get there. So I think that's about networking.
So that's a great... Hello, yeah. That's a great way of introducing networking, but if I have to ask you, what would be the tips and tricks to get the networking right? So, like, what should my first question be? Like, I'm a first time getting into a open source community meeting. Like, any tips and tricks from there?
I get it. I mean, it still feels very awkward, right? I mean, we all have been there. It's important that you put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, or otherwise I wouldn't be here. If it's not community, if it's not connections, if it's not networking, I wouldn't be here sitting here and speaking to you all today, this afternoon. So it's important to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations. Initially you will feel a bit awkward, but it's important to realize that nobody actually judges you that hard in the initial thing. Everybody are expecting something, everybody wants to make relations, everybody wants to connect with each other. And one more tip that I would like to give is, don't just exchange your socials like LinkedIn, Twitter, and just exchange your socials and connections. Growing your followers is not networking, okay? It's more about building and staying in touch and actually trying to bring something out of whatever you're doing together. And one of the things that I've read about Twitter, just in Twitter, one of my friends posted that I see at a lot of meetups and conferences that people usually tend to cancel out each other on their passions or the kind of work that they do, right? So let's say I'm working on Kubernetes and someone's working on AWS. So the interests kind of don't match, but there's much more to it than just those interests not matching. Okay, just build those connections and grow your network. It's important. It's important to build your personal brand today, on the internet.
Great way of putting it, Amogha. And this just gives me a feeling that this is how you put yourself right time, right place. Like networking opportunities are your drive vehicle to get there. Okay, with that, I'll move on to the next topic, mentorship and guidance. Question to you, Zubair, okay, I made some really good friends, let's imagine in community, but I would like to get some mentorship and guidance on how to go about, let's say for example, Kubernetes or any other project. So how do we do it? How should I make sure that the other person is willing to give me the mentorship?
Okay. First of all, it doesn't have to be so formal that you have to exchange or someone has to be a mentor and then someone has to be a mentee. It can be very much informal and you can look up to that person as a guide or someone you look back to whenever you have something in your career. So from my personal experience, when I first started, I switched careers from mechanical to computers, so I had no background in computer science whatsoever. So I was clueless on what I had to go forward with. So that's when I started looking for tech communities in Hyderabad. I went to them and I started meeting people, and I found few folks who were very helpful and whom I consider my mentors even till today. So I always come back to them about questions of what I want to do ahead with my career or any general topic. So I think that's how the relationship should be with your mentorship.
Hello, yeah. So as this is tech conference, so would you give some platforms or places where to look or what to expect from mentorship opportunities? So setting the expectations right, what would you say in that regard?
So I think as Amogha also already told about, the networking is the best place or the conferences are the best place where you actually can look forward or look for us, mentors. So my go-to mentors have changed over a period of time, and what they have suggested me and what direction they have given me throughout the career have made or shaped what I am today. So, to get to your question, conferences is the best opportunity to find someone like-minded.
Okay, that's definitely a great insight, Zubair. I think we all have mentors in our life in different parts of our careers, and I would just say that, as Zubair said, it's not only taking mentorship, but we should also pay the price of mentorship. We should also take up the thought leadership of mentoring others in things that we know that, hey, we can definitely help others in this specific matters. So with that, let's move on to the next topic, job opportunities from Kalyan. So I think the question, okay, let me use this phrase. Whenever we say job opportunities, there is so much of eyes, ears, everything comes into there because we all are here to make our careers better, and we all see that job opportunities is the starting point or the monetization of all the effort that we do here. So how should one think about job opportunities from the open source communities?
Yeah, so firstly, I think you all have heard Ranjan saying that the way digital transformation shapes the Telangana. And firstly, and Hyderabad IT is booming with the rapid growth and demand for tech professionals especially, right? But while most of the people can find job opportunities on various platforms, I'm sure everybody will agree, right? So you can find job opportunity on LinkedIn or maybe other platforms as well, right? But one of the quickest and easiest ways to find and land a job is through open source community, because you can easily get referrals and recommendations. For instance, in our Hype community. So we support job opportunities and job openings through a specified job stream. So we have a specified job stream. So where our active members used to post different job positions, freelance gigs, internship opportunities, not only specifically related to Python, but again, very diverse topics. For example, people used to post job openings on DevOps, infra side, blockchain, Web3. So all these are different technologies. But how you are getting all these opportunities leveraging through the communities, right? And on another note, so we also do a regular meetups and organize regular meetup events in different corporate places. So where the people who are attending those meetups can get an easy direct interaction with the employees or the organization we are hosting a meetup. So they also post some sort of they also announce that we have some openings if you are interested, if your profile is fitting. So one of the best way that we get a job opportunity. So to conclude that, so all this real-time information and direct networking makes members to get a job opportunity directly through the open source communities and also stay up to date on the local market trends, right? So because so people will also get to understand what skills are currently in the demand, so that if someone Zubair is saying, so he got transformed. When I got transformed, I was not a tech professional. I studied completely finance and all, and I transitioned completely into data science and all that, right? So I understand the importance of the skill in technology. That's how I transform. Likewise, people who are in a diverse different domain, they want to get into other domains so that they understand what is the current thing which is there in the market, and so that they upskill, and that's how they get an opportunity in the community.
Kalyan, that helps us understand how to get one into the door of a company that is hiring. Like it will take you into the job opportunity, but how could one leverage open source communities to build their profile for the job opportunities?
So I think this is a very interesting question. So a lot of typical resumes, you see that I've studied this, or my background is something like this, or I've done so and so projects. But in very few resumes, we see that I've been actively contributed to open source community. When it comes to open source community, people also always have some perception that they should put some contributions to code. This is what most of the people believe, that if I have some code contributions to the open source community, that is the only thing that people assume. But there are a bunch of things that you can do in open source community. For example, as Will is saying that, so how the CNCF was formed by different people, right? So all these different people gathered together because they have exchanged their idea. That's how they met, and today they are doing the conference. Similarly, we also done the same way. So I joined as a normal volunteer in 2018 for a PyCon Hyderabad, which is a Python related event. At the time, I didn't know anything about open source stuff. But eventually, it's been close to 7 years. So I learned a lot of different things, because open source community, you do a bunch of things, activities like doing such events. So organizing these events, and playing different roles, right? It also improves your personal life as well as also professional. So you get to understand about organizing skills, leadership skills. So all these things that you can fit into your profile when you are trying to apply for the job opportunity. That's where you actually stand out from other people who are actually applying for the same job, right? Because you have leadership capabilities to talk to 100 people in front of you, right? So that is somewhere you're actually standing out apart from others, right?
That's a right way of saying how time and effort can create dividends.
But actually, I just want to add one more point here. So contributing to open source community is something like, you have to invest a lot of time. So trust me, we actually put more than our office hours to make all these things happen. So I'm sure Vineeth and Atul, all these people know that how much effort they have put to make this event successful.
Yep. As Kalyan rightly said, so all the panelists that are here, they have been it's not just a month or you do it for a few weeks and you get away with it. It's more like constantly, consistently putting it for many months and years, and it will find its right course over time, and it will land you where you want yourself to be. So with that, I'll conclude the panel discussion, but I would like to open 5 minutes for open Q&A. So I'll just pass the mic into the audience. So anyone has questions, please raise your hands. I'll just give the mic and you can directly ask us the questions. So I'll let Amogha add something.
Okay, you all have heard how important, like, what all benefits that you get from communities. You know, there's a lot that you can take from communities, but what about giving back to the communities? I think that's where the differentiator comes. You know, a lot of people usually take, let's say, make the maintainers for open source projects, right? So why do they have to invest that extra time out of their working hours to kind of maintain that project on open source? So what is the driving force to kind of, give back to the community? It's more about that satisfaction, not just you're taking so much from the community, but also contributing back to the community. And like I said, it again boils down to the fact that it totally changed the idea of, redefined the idea of networking for me, especially. So that's something I would like to add.
Yeah, hi, my name is Zubair. My question is, so how do we become more vibrant in Hyderabad, the open source community, compared to the other neighboring cities? I just want to take a panel view.
Sure. But I have a question for that. How many of you have traveled from Bangalore to this event? Oh, wow. How many are from Hyderabad here? Great. And how many of you have actually been a part of community or contributed to some communities or are still contributing to communities? Okay, this was needed, right? Okay, so the question you asked is, again, I think Hyderabad as a community, I think is still growing. Bangalore I see it as a far more established in terms of tech communities. It's not only because there are a lot of tech people are out there, but it's also people coming out of their comfort zones, trying to have those conversations, meet more people, and attend more events. And like I said, in Hyderabad, we are still a bit behind. We are still figuring it out. We are still planning events. And how many of you have known this KCD through a meetup group or LinkedIn or whatever it is? Or did someone tell you to attend KCD? How many of you got it through socials, or LinkedIn or whatever it is? Okay. I think it's a reach, we have to put that extra effort to let everybody know that there are communities like this, there are spaces like this where people can come together and work together. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
I would also add one thing. I've been in Bangalore on the taking side. I was an audience for the many meetups, and then I came to Hyderabad. I was like, hey, there is no community like this. Let's get started. But I would say one thing, if I have to say, is we have to come out of learning, socializing, and making ourselves better on Saturdays and Sundays is not a cliche. I think there is some part of it is stopping us that, hey, from Monday to Friday I've done enough for corporate. I'll not come into this learning side on Saturdays and Sundays. Instead, we have to be more vocal. Hey, I've been thinking of Gen AI. It's interesting. ChatGPT is really great. Is there any Gen AI meetup group in Hyderabad? Okay, there is one. How do I join? Or you yourself will apply for a talk saying that, hey, I'm demystifying a research paper. I just took the help of ChatGPT, but there is no better speaker here other than me. I have some interest and time to spend in it, and I'm being the speaker. So one of you here could be doing a major Gen AI conference 3 years down the line, and we would be in the audience. That's totally possible. It's just time and spending the effort in making sure that we are building that community. So I just would say that anything is possible, and it's all in our hands on how we want to take this forward. So yeah. Any other question? Can we take one more question, Anna? Yeah. Any question from the conclude the panel discussion? But thanks again, Amogha, Zubair, and Kalyan for being here. And again, this is not easy, as they also are active participant in the open source communities. They coming here and taking time. This also needed some planning on our WhatsApp group, but hopefully it turned out fruitful for all of us. But you all will be here, even if you want to talk to us, ask all your questions. No question is dumb or anything. Even if you have the basic of basic questions, we are here. We are happy to help you out in any way possible. So with that, thank you, and I'll pass it to Anand for the next talk. But I'll just give one small teaser. The next talk is by one of my friends, Suraj, and I learned a lot from his talks. I'll be here too. So if you are using Grafana anyway, you should definitely stick here for the next session. Okay, for me, okay, one thing. So